So rehab, relapse, remorse, and recovery. Up early every day, blue skies all in front of me. Gratitude's the attitude, family and friends. I'm blessed to tell y'all about sober shenanigans now. You're not alone, you got groups almost everywhere. Trying your best, you're enough, don't even fake scared. It's a new life hack back where you ought to be. Bring your broke ass, come here, get recovery. Start from primo, shenanigang every day. Go and tell the world just no drinks today. Yeah, no drinks today.
And
welcome to Sober Shenanigans, real talk and real recovery. We're just two garden variety alcoholics trying to get better every day, one day at a time. Helping you out there know that you are not alone. We are here to help, and there's a lot of other people in your same shoes. So look for a meeting and look for a group near you, and it'll be the best day of your life. As with me as usual is my main man, Primo. What's going on today, Primo?
brother, it's been a quite a setup here this evening. You would think after 47 shows that I would have my my shit together, but it's been pointed out to me that humility and learning and all these things, I'm still at the ripe old age of whatever I'm at. I still got a lot to learn. Unfortunately.
Yes, we all do. We all have a lot of things to learn. And with us tonight is one of our good friends, Stephen Action Jackson. Steve, how are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful, guys. Thanks for inviting me.
Hey, welcome.
Yep, thanks for coming on. Stephen, why don't you start off by just giving us a little background on you, maybe how you came into the program, maybe some early stories, how you figured out that you needed to get sober.
How I figured out how I needed to get sober. Wow. That was basically my wife, number one. You know,
We've heard that before.
yeah, sure. But no, I think that over time, and I know that being alcoholic is a progressive disease, and I didn't know that before. However, I just noticed that as I was drinking with everybody else, that I started saying stuff that I didn't remember, started, having some blackouts, and next day being embarrassed, or my wife would give me the cold shoulder, and then she would lay into me the next day after I was sober and not delusional, you know. So I knew I needed to get help, but I didn't get it figured out for over 5 years of going in and out of AA. And then one day, I'm not sure why this time made the difference, but it did. And I finally surrendered, got on my hands and knees and asked for help, and went to an AA meeting in Dunedin at the warehouse and felt love and acceptance immediately when I didn't believe in myself. I couldn't stand looking in the mirror anymore. And I just went there and everyone loved me. So it was actually pretty transformational.
Awesome. Well, take us back farther. Do you have brothers and sisters, your parents? What was the situation like at home when you were younger?
Yeah. So I was born and raised in a very small rural town out by Topeka, Kansas, called Harveyville, Kansas, population 300. And
that is small.
It is small. So, typical small town shenanigans.
Nice
town hag.
Nice plug, by the way.
Started drinking at 12, raiding my dad's refrigerator, raiding everyone else's refrigerators, playing jokes on, people that would bring in, like people that distributed beer, for example. One time this guy got stuck in the snow, had to go get help. We helped ourselves into his rig and grabbed a couple cases of beer, put it in the back, and would slide around town and drink all day. It was normal, right? My dad drank beer like soda pop. He always had one with him going down the road, driving. Wasn't nothing big. And he wasn't really a true, he didn't drink to get drunk. He just didn't understand why people would do that. But, starting drinking at 12, and then, my brother was extreme. He was a great athlete, didn't like school. Had a younger sister later on. She was 8 years younger than me, 10 years younger than my brother. We were pretty much already almost out of the house by that time.
Yeah.
So, but my dad was a Santa Fe railroad worker. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, worked odd jobs. My dad pretty much stuck to beer every once in a while. They'd have Whiskey Wednesday, and that's when things got a little rowdy. some things happened that I didn't know I blocked out. My brother reminded me of some things that happened, some chaotic things, and then, but my mom drank vodka, and I remember she stopped one time. I saw her out puking out in the yard, and that was the last time she drank. And, that's typically what was happening. My dad was a railroad worker. He'd go to work, come home, eat dinner at 6, go out in the garage, work on cars, drink beer, go to sleep, repeat, rinse, repeat, do it over and over. And that's pretty much, I didn't see anything wrong with it. Everybody did it.
Right. How big was your family?
I have an older brother and a younger sister, so just 3 of us. I'm in the middle. Yep.
The middle child.
Middle child. Yeah. So,
There's some stuff going on there.
Oh, yeah.
and I was really academically strong, average at sports. I played football. I was actually really small in high school. I was 5'4", 120 pounds as a freshman.
Yeah, welcome to Kansas.
And then I grew up, senior year, I was 6', 180. And I went back to my 5-year reunion at 6'3", 250.
Yeah.
So went to college at K-State University, go Cats, and went to go play football. And I ended up getting a severe car accident on my way home to tell my family. And that basically changed the trajectory of my life.
Wow. That's crazy. So when you were in college and after you weren't able to be on the football team because of the injury, you stayed in school. Did you ramp up your partying at that point?
Oh yeah. I was a bouncer at Brothers Tavern, and there was all kinds of shenanigans that went on there. Many
plug.
So, but I was a bouncer, so, we got to go everywhere and drink for free. And, we used to laugh and cut up and joke around about how funny things were, or someone, I don't know what we can disclose here, but, just found laying on the ground and, no clothes on, or woke up in somebody else's apartment that didn't even know where he was, or, we used to laugh about that stuff and brag about it. But nowadays I look at it like, what were we doing? But it was fun until it wasn't, and we did have a lot of fun, but I progressively got worse. And my wife still drinks today, but she's a normie, and I just proved that I couldn't, even though she didn't want me to stop. I stopped for a while, and then I'd hear friends of mine saying, your wife doesn't really want you to stop drinking. She would like you to be able to control your drinking. So the same MO, I would try the beer or try wine, or, stay off the hard liquor. But over time, it just ended up going down that same path, and it wasn't good. And I was just getting to the point where I didn't really like myself.
Yeah. And was this shortly after college? Did you go to college with your wife too?
No, I ended up living in Kansas City, Overland Park, Kansas for a while. And I was actually married when I was 21.
Wow.
My first wife was 19, and we got married in 1990. So I actually didn't finish college because I followed her up to Kansas City and started a lawn and landscaping business, and then went to a vocational school and got a degree in computer programming, and then got into that field.
Yeah.
So, and then after that, 3 years divorced, and I ended up having to basically move out of Kansas City, and I moved to Florida, and that's where I met my wife today. She actually leased me in an apartment, and she used to set me up on dates with other women and her friends, and it was cool because we started out as friends. It wasn't a one night stand in college, at the bar or whatever. We got some time to get to know each other really well, and then we finally started dating, and then we got married. It'll be 30 years this November.
Awesome. What a great accomplishment.
Yeah. So I got down here in 1994. So, it was December 94, or actually January 94.
This area here?
Yeah. So I've just been sticking around here. Actually I moved first to, Clearwater, and then I moved over to Tampa for a little bit because she, used to manage a 900 unit apartment complex over there, off of Tampa Road. I think it's called Bayshore Apartments at that time. They changed their name after that, but So I hung out over in Tampa a lot. Plus, I worked down there, which I was telling you guys earlier, the Tampa City Center. I was a software architect, one of the leading architects on software development teams, and I traveled all over the United States and helped basically create the blueprint for new software systems for big corporations. I was basically a business application programmer.
Yeah.
But it was fun.
That's a tough gig these days.
Yeah, it can be. Well, I started out in mainframe programming, like COBOL and IMS and all these other technologies, and then re-engineered into client server Power Builder, and then I re-engineered again into Java that runs on your little smartphones.
You look like a football player, though.
That's what I love. You know, the first day, here's quite the story. So I spent I was back then it was $800 for this custom olive 3-piece suit, right? And it was a 56 wide, 34 waist, you know, big old legs. And then I went into my first day at Computer Task Group, CTG, there on the Causeway, where the old Whiskey Joe's used to be.
Oh, yeah. I knew the owner.
Always.
And so I worked in that building right up front, and I walked in bigger than I am now, 24 years old, carrying a cooler full of food. And I walked in there, and the receptionist like, "Can I help you?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm here for my first day of work." And she looks me up and down, and she goes, "Shouldn't you be on the football field?" And I said, "Yes, I should, but God had another plan." I said, "Thank God I had some brains, not just the brawn." I said, "Where's my desk?"
Good for you, man.
So it was fun time. I would throw everyone off when I'd walk into a board meeting or do a dog and pony show, like in a room like this. People are like, "Who is this guy?" You know, and then I would just show them what I knew, and it was fun.
Yeah.
I didn't have the pocket protector. I wasn't the typical stereotypical programmer geek, you know.
Well, no, you're the size of two of them. So I can imagine that you are certainly not the typical. When you say my programmer's walking in, you think he'd be behind you. Like, oh, here's his bodyguard. Where's he at?
Yeah.
Security.
Exactly.
It was really fun. It was a blast doing that stuff, and I actually did enjoy programming. It just got to the point where I figured out that even though I was getting paid well, I was still the system, you know, and there's only 24 hours in a day, and I was wanting to live a different life. And I was like, how do I get out of this rat race and get into the fast track? So I shifted and got into basically launching my own software development company, and then hired a bunch of consultants. That was before the big .com boom busted, right?
Yeah.
And then everyone scattered like cockroaches when you turn the light on in a house that's vacant. And then I went from there to doing real estate, and haven't turned back, you know.
Did you start as a real estate broker?
No, I have only been an investor. My wife was a realtor. She's been in property management her whole life. So she was getting burnt out of being a realtor. And I said, you know what? I see an opportunity here to bridge the gap between technology and real estate. And I said, I have an idea, and I want you to keep your license. How would you like it if you could never show a house again, never drive buyers around again, and still be in the real estate game? She goes, I would love that. So I created a system, the very first system that ran on my BlackBerry phone.
Wow.
Yep. Crackberry. And it was a real estate investor system that managed and marketed your real estate business and automated your mail campaigns and tracked all your leads and all that stuff before, now that's all a commodity. You can get that, anywhere nowadays. But when I created that, there wasn't any out there. I was like 3 years ahead of the curve, and it was a hard sell for a while. And plus I'm a techie. I'm not a sales guy. So I had a heck of a time selling it. The engineers got it right off the bat. But, and now the whole time I'm, drinking, and I was developing my software, drinking a Crown and Coke, sitting there at my desk. And honestly, liquor would give me energy,
Yeah.
and I didn't think anything of it, but, slowly but surely, it definitely, over years, it turned bad.
Yeah. So you had already started your business with your wife.
Yep.
And then, we hear this quite a bit, is that, people aren't always disheveled alcoholics. They're they could be successful. You could be doing very well, and then one day you just realize that you've lost control of it, that it is running your life. Was there a time, was there a certain instance, or because I mean, I have a certain instance, and he does, what was your certain instance that came up? And
I would say that there's a few of them that kind of compounded on top of each other. But one was, um, my wife and I were at a concert with a bunch of friends, and I was having a great time. And we went to that concert. We walked across to the Hard Rock, doing some gambling and doing some more drinking. And I guess I was having fun, but I guess she wasn't having any fun anymore. And she was ready to go home. And then I have that one friend that said, "Don't worry, I'll take him. I'll bring him home." And she didn't want me to stay there.
Yeah.
And I ended up making a scene, and then I finally surrendered and got into the car and went home with her. But on the way home, I lost my shit, and I tried to break out the windshield. I did bust.
What do you mean tried? I imagine you had some success in whatever you were
I
doing.
hit that thing as hard as I could multiple times, and it wouldn't break. But I did destroy the dash of a Lexus car, and it scared her so much she went the wrong way down the interstate, I-75. I think that's, or it's 275.
oh, wow.
Yeah. So she didn't say anything to me that night. We got home, and then obviously she slept in a different room. And I got up and I was like, "What happened?"
Was your hand broken? I mean,
Oh, that was the first thing I did to try to put something between me and the next drink. Is I took a picture of my fists, and they were bloodied up like I got in a bad fight. And I would have that on my phone screen, and I would keep, that in with me. And then that stopped working. And I'd use pictures of my wife would be like, "If you can't do it for me, then do it for your daughter or do it for your kids." So I would keep a picture of my daughter in my truck, and that worked for a little bit. But one thing I learned over and over and over, and in and out of AA for 5 years, trying to do it for somebody else, that isn't going to work. The
No.
only person you can do it for is yourself. And I finally learned that lesson, and I finally surrendered because I was not liking myself to the point where I wouldn't say I was suicidal, but I was just like wanting to disappear and stop
Yeah.
hurting people.
yeah. Go ahead.
You guys thought I was going to say something?
I thought you had a question.
Yeah, I was like, I was breathing in. I was just kind of soaking it in. No, I find it to be it's pretty typical. Like the moment that awakening moment that we all have. They're all kind of similar but different. To us, they galvanize in our brain, and it's like wow. And I call it the shame shivers. When we think back on it, we're like, oh my God, I was that guy for like that moment. And but it's such a critical part of the journey that we have to have that. Like everybody has to have that, I think, to get the motivation, the desperation.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd say that I journal, and I have been journaling since I was probably 16 years old, and I've kept every journal I've ever written in.
It's awesome.
So it's helped me create a book that I'm working on. And so I went through, and my fourth step, I went through and this time I put a spreadsheet, but I put together my techie side of me. But I put together nice columns and rows, and I put one that's like good or bad experience, or it was it alcohol or spiritual or, that kind of stuff. So I was able to filter all the notes. So I put every time I screwed up in my journal, I said, I did it again, and I logged 16 times. I said I was going to stop drinking.
Wow.
Yep. And I didn't, and I stopped believing in myself. And, I was always very good, disciplined, structured.
So you're not a one-chip wonder, are you?
No,
That's great.
Yeah.
There's a lot of those cocky guys come in here, and I get annoyed with them.
no. Well, I would say that I should have been, because I went into the AA rooms around Nelson Pasco, and I didn't ever grab a chip. I got in there, and sometimes I'd leave before the event or the meeting was over, because I'm like, I'm not like these guys, I'm not that bad. I'm not like this and that. And
Right.
And then the interesting thing was, I'm so glad that I walked into the warehouse because they were doing a step meeting, and I never ever walked into a step meeting. It was always open discussion, and sometimes the discussions, especially in certain rooms, wasn't that great.
Yeah.
And but when because I'm a systems guy and I like steps and checklist and stuff,
Hell yeah.
guidelines. So when I went in there and met Rappy or anyway, I met some of the guys,
Sure.
that I'm like, I can do this. That makes a lot of sense. And then when people started sharing their stories, I started like, holy crap, the typical that's me. I heard my story and I identified with it. I'm like, I'm not alone. I found my home. I found my tribe. And I was so relieved. It was very liberating to say the least. And but my family's all a bunch of drinkers. When I look back now at all like my mom's side and my dad's side, it's definitely on my dad's side. But my mom died. She smoked, so she had brain and lung cancer. So she died 73 years old from that. My dad pretty much drank his whole life. There's debate on who you talk to in my family of what he died or what caused his death. But
Yeah.
anyway, but he,
So welcome to the Orphans Club.
yeah, and then so
right.
my sister's still actively drinking. And my brother, he had to go to prison for a while, and he just recently got out. So he's trying to reconnect with me. So there's that. I'm dealing with that stuff.
Are they back in Kansas still?
Yeah, I'm the only one that left. So back in 1994, I became the black sheep of the family because my mom was really upset with me for moving away from Kansas and Topeka. And, I did it anyway. And I thought I was going to be back about 5 years, but I just stayed down here. Nice having a little bit of a buffer of 1,600 miles.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Even though some of them still show up at your front door. But anyway, it's been something that has been a good thing for me moving down here. But one thing I've learned about moving is that whatever's inside you still goes with you. I attracted the same people.
Yep.
I attracted the same crazy, I was going to say it again, shenanigans, but
Yeah.
but it was, I was a lot of fun. Most people, when you talk to them, they don't see what my wife shares or knows or has a personal experience. They all like, you're always fun. You're always great time. And I never seen you get wound up or do this or do that. I'm like, you don't see what happened, late at night, after everyone's gone and I don't get my way or whatever, or I don't remember.
Yeah, I think my parents moved to Florida to try to get us out of trouble. They moved us to a little island. Yeah, let's go to Florida. We're gonna go to this little island called Sanibel.
Oh, wow.
We can't get in trouble there.
Yeah. Yeah. That's where capital T.
Yeah. Wow. But
Yeah.
that's another story. But,
Yeah. But yeah, my first wife, she saw, didn't really see me get out of hand too often, but she saw what happened between my brother and I, when I was married with her, and I was looking forward, like I said, to moving and getting down here to Florida and trying to get away from all that, which I did. That whole group of people that I grew up with, they didn't go anywhere. I ended up moving, and that was one of the best decisions I made, is to get away from that. But then I still attracted those same kind of people.
Yeah.
So I know that for me, I used to bypass rage, and just black out and get so, like either it was a really happy lampshade drinking night, or it was blackout rage. And the blackout rages are the ones that, were the unforgiven looks and what you did last night. And a lot of times I had no idea what I did. And, and that's a tough part about this disease, because I still to this day wonder, sometimes what I might have done. And maybe I escaped the consequences of some of that, but the anger and rage comes with us, and dealing with that in sobriety is a whole nother thing, like it's still a drug sometimes,
Oh yeah.
to be able to release and get that adrenaline from being angry. It's not great.
Yeah. I think one of the things that I learned in the rooms, that I never thought of it like this. That's why I love going there and hearing stories and different perspectives, is that I never thought anger was fear,
Mm.
that I'm fearful. And I now realize that it all boiled down to fear, that I'm covering that up by raging and fighting and beating things up, or sometimes people, primarily my brother.
Yeah.
Well, my brother, he was not, he thought he was, now that we're older and I'm clear minded, and the fog is gone. Some things have come back through outside help, through therapy and whatnot, and doing some psychotherapy, which was amazing. Um, but I blocked out a lot of stuff I didn't think I did. I thought I sure knew everything about me. But some situations where, my dad, Tim and I fighting over what we're going to watch for TV. Dad comes in, throws the TV through the window. I'll solve that problem. Comes in, and Tim and I are fighting over the phone, rips it off the wall. That was a day when you had landlines with a cord.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Paid a quarter for a call over the water or whatever.
They were pretty tough, those phones, though. You could do a lot to them.
He was born in the 40s. His dad died when he was 9, so he did the best he could. He used to talk about, yeah, I was a horrible dad. I never took you fishing, trapping, hunting. I never coached your baseball. I didn't take you there, here, and there. But I said, yeah, you were a good dad, really good dad, until you weren't. And that's when I said that, I realized that's me.
Oh,
I'm a really good guy until I'm not, and I can like that. And that's what, I got help, and I was wise enough to find help, and my brother never did get help. And that's why he went the path he went, and I went the other way, because he was honestly a good example of what not to be, for me. And I was right there with him because I was a younger brother. So I was in the back seat as an accomplice,
Yeah.
getting into all kinds of shenanigans and, doing stuff we shouldn't have been doing. I mean, we're a small town. I mean, boys get bored,
Did you guys tip cows?
Oh, yeah.
I always wondered really it would be like.
I used to love the big rolls, the bales of hay, the round ones,
Yeah.
especially when they're on the top of the hill. We'd get 2 guys behind it, would shove it down the hill and just watch it go for a quarter mile. And then we're like, oh my God, it's going to go through the barbed wire fence. Oh my God, it went over the road. Oh my God, it went to the other guy. Goes, geez, yeah, we made a mess, and cows were everywhere. And yeah, I was like, all right, we're not doing that anymore. But we used to get into some crazy stuff. But it was fun. But Tim used to beat up on me daily, every day.
Oh, yeah.
And he today says that he did it to protect me, to make me stronger. And I think in some ways he did, because he really got me into working out at a young age. I started training at 14, martial arts, boxing, and then
Just to defend yourself at home.
yeah, just been myself.
Dude, I had 3 older brothers, man. You know all about that.
Yeah. And one thing cool about going to school with an older brother that way, that enjoyed fighting, is that no one really messed with him.
I had that luxury, but yeah, that's a great
Like, you
luxury.
know whose little brother that is, right? That's
Yeah.
crazy Tim Jackson's brother, But he you don't want to mess with him, because you're going to mess with Tim. So, but he was the first one to introduce me to other dry goods, and I remember I was 16 years old and I didn't want to smoke, and he wouldn't take no for an answer. He beat the shit out of me till I did.
Yeah.
And when I did, I was like, damn, they should have beat me up a long time ago. But, it's just interesting, now that we're older, and he shared some of the things, and I can remember those nights where my dad wasn't, being a good dad, hiding underneath the bed and closet, wherever I
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
still bugs me right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Tim used to take the brunt of it. So
Well,
I kind of understand better now.
That's
it probably helped you become a better parent.
Yeah, you know what? I thought our kids were going to be like us, like we were as kids. Our kids were such good kids, so disciplined, and just never got in trouble. And if they did, it was minor. And my wife and I have a rule with them that, we give them, they get into a situation that's not good, that, the number one rule is to call us and we'll come immediately. No judgment, no questions, nothing asked.
Right.
And, 2 of the 3 kids had to do that. And, even today, they're older now and they're totally appreciative of that.
Yeah.
And they got their own little ones now. We got grandbabies, so I'm grateful I'm around that, because they're, a year ago, I was looking at getting divorced. My wife was going to divorce me and I didn't even know she was going to leave me.
Oh, man.
Yep. And, I accepted the fact that she was going to do that. And, we were actually in process of figuring out how to go about doing it. And then I guess my actions were speaking louder than my words, and she took another chance with me. So
That's great.
yeah, we're working it out now. And, I've been sober now for 3 years, February, 21st of 2023. And then, I've dealt with the death and, crazy stuff that's happened. And luckily, I don't know how, it's obviously out of my control, and is that I don't have a desire to drink, and I don't worry about it anymore. I go sing karaoke without drinking.
Oh, really? You sing karaoke?
Yes, I do.
What kind?
With country music.
Okay, all right.
I'm trying to get into the rock and roll. But
Greg, are you a karaoke guy?
he's got a low baritone voice. He could do it.
I could, but I don't usually do karaoke. I can't carry a tune. I cannot
I don't
sing
that.
It sounds like
unless it's in a low register. I
Yeah,
guess.
exactly.
Yeah.
I'll do an impression of John Belushi doing an impression of Joe Cocker.
Yeah.
That's me.
Yeah.
Okay, that's as good as I get.
That's a goodie. You got the Joe Cocker voice, kind of, really, to be honest. Yeah.
No, I love, I sing Jamie Johnson, High Cost of Living. I can totally relate to that song. I sing, Chris Young, I'm Your Man, or Your Man, I said the song, and mostly country songs, though. Mountain music, a lot of Alabama.
Yeah. Cool. Mountain music.
I like the older music that my mom and dad listen to, but my wife is like, can you get it at least like current country? Like Conway Twitty and
Conway Twitty.
Oh,
John,
wow.
Johnny Cash.
Now Johnny Cash isn't country.
Johnny Cash's not always
He's
good.
timeless. Yeah.
No, but he's not country and he's not rock and roll. You know what he is?
No.
He's Johnny Cash.
That's right.
Yeah, he's Johnny Cash.
Yes. Yeah.
There's no
Ring of
mistake.
Fire.
Oh yeah, man.
Uh-oh.
Have you
I
listened?
lost something.
What'd you lose?
My screen is.
Oh, tap it.
Nope.
He's froze.
Really? I got you. Nice.
It's just, yeah. We can still hear you.
Yep. So, but yeah, I do. But I used to have to drink to go sing country or sing karaoke. But I learned a few years ago, before I went to AA, I went to a spiritual retreat, and I learned about vulnerability. I learned vulnerability is a strength, not a weakness, because I was always taught big boys don't cry, and I didn't really have feelings, and now I do, and it's almost to an extreme, which I don't really like either. But you just saw it earlier. It's just like I didn't used to do that, and I know it's better for me to feel it and go through it and process it, because otherwise you store it in your body and it becomes, eventually it can become a disease.
Yeah.
So I have a tendency, I think, because of my personality type, to overshare, and I've learned to try to control that, because avoidant, like abandonment personality type, I didn't really know I was abandoned at a young age either, until going through therapy, and it makes a hell of a lot of sense, why I deflect, and I hear myself reverberate. Is that the right word? Reverberate.
Now that I'm
Yep.
and you're back.
Yeah, so I feel myself. So yeah, the reverb is back, so I don't know if there's a volume button or something.
Could you get the camera back on you and I'll fix it over here? How's that?
All right. So
There, we're good.
Yeah.
We're good. So
you're getting better.
this podcast is gonna be like, I am trying to create the most perfectly engineered podcast,
How's it working?
and it just gets worse and worse and
Trying
worse.
to control things, ain't you?
Yes. Yes, we ought not be so organized.
I offer myself humbly to you guys to do whatever you will with
Have you ever
me.
watched Shrinking?
Oh yeah.
The last episode was perfect on about controlling things and projecting what you want things to do or happen, and I related to that big time, because I'm like, oh, that's me trying to project, trying to control things.
So the question I would ask you is, you seem like a natural leader,
Yes.
and you're 3 years sober. So obviously, I'm guessing you have a sponsor. You're sponsoring guys,
Yep.
and you're walking this path. You're getting your life back. You get your wife back. All the things that what's interesting is that a lot of people don't realize the level of personal success, and I'm talking about happiness, but that also translates into the success of how we can lead other people. And I can tell that you have that juice. Greg's got the same juice, that when you get when you come in here, where you can. And I had it too. I mean, I feel like I had it early on, where I could go and get my education and talk about my health and do all these positive things for myself that just um it is so critical, because otherwise it gets boring, or like, why am I doing this? You know what I mean? What's the point?
True.
No, the promises and all those things have to come true for me. Like, there was a deal that I made when I walked through the doors, like, I got to get something, and I can see that you're Action Jackson, baby.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm impressed. I'm like, okay, I see this cat walking around. I'm like, we gotta, I see some talent over here. Let me see if we can't get him on the show.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for coming.
You're welcome.
And I want to tell you, I secretly watch people, and I try to take a piece of something in them that's good and put it in my spice packet. You know what I mean?
Good. Yeah.
So
No, I agree, and I appreciate you guys invite me, and uh, anything I can do to help another alcoholic, I hopefully inspire somebody to, you know, try out the AA way and not their way, because obviously I learned my way wasn't working anymore.
I could see somebody wanting to get direction from you, like, okay, this guy, I need help, one, and two, and being capable of, like, you directing them very easily.
Yeah.
I'm a short guy. I'm not like these big tall guys. I I have to really,
Funny.
yeah, but I really have to.
He is.
I really have to bring it. You know what I mean? I had to bring it like at an intellectual level, or I had to figure out some bullshit attitude or experience that just wows them enough to pay attention. But it's such a as you go through this journey,
Yeah.
you're gonna run into a lot of people that you're like, where did they go?
Mm-hmm.
And that gets old after a while.
Yeah. I've learned through my sponsor how to deal with the people that I'm sponsoring. And one of them, I feel like I was taking responsibility for his actions and not sticking with the program. And I learned quickly that, I can only do so much, and that's really his own path or their own path, and it's out of my control, and I'm there. Just tell him I'm there when you're ready.
Carry the message, not the mess.
Yeah, that's true. And then, but yeah, I have a entrepreneurs roundtable that I do every month, and I bring in entrepreneurs, business owners, people that want to be an entrepreneur or go from employee to business owner. Um, and some of the guys in that room are, like us. And it's nice because they're getting involved and they're starting to see, they're getting hope, or they're seeing a different path that they never saw before. And I've learned that through different training that I've had, and they're taking the blinders off and really seeing that there's more possibilities out there than they ever imagined.
So do you have a group that you organize?
Yes.
What's it called?
called-
And can somebody join this group?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's called the Entrepreneurs Roundtable. We meet the third Thursday of every month. We eat business challenges for breakfast. So we meet at a Village Inn in Oldsmar, but it's invite only. And they can find me out on Facebook, if you look up the Entrepreneurs Roundtable, you can find me out there.
Okay, great.
And then, or however, get a hold of you guys and get a hold of me that way. Seating's limited. I keep it to 20 people.
Wow.
And organically, we grown quite a bit. And we bring in guest speakers of all different types. Like I'd love to bring you guys in as a guest speaker and share. I give you guys 15, 20 minutes, and then there's a Q&A and spread the word.
This guy is a serial entrepreneur, my man.
Perfect.
Stuff.
He's the exact
Yeah.
candidate.
If he goes up to the bathroom and comes back, by the time he gets back, he'll have 2 new businesses organized. And
Hey, I just set up a log code to be my AI executive assistant and my AI content manager over the weekend.
Nice.
I love entrepreneurship. I love watching I like people coming up out of nothing and creating something of themselves. And I'm such a huge fan of that. And I love to when I go out to eat, I like to go to small restaurants. Just all the above. You know what I want to help the small guy.
Yep.
And I think it's so important to the culture of our country.
Yep. One
Yeah.
thing I'd like to add that I didn't mention is that, and that's a big part of my story, is that when I was 18 years old, I was involved in a fatal car accident, and the gentleman that hit us died, and I went through the windshield at 55 miles an hour, split my skull open, tore part of my right arm off, and I had a near-death experience. So I saw my life review. I saw these light beings, which
You did? You saw your life review?
I did, and it was short because I was only 18.
Right.
But it showed not only the good, but it showed the bad stuff I did. It even showed me still in a piece of bubble gum when I was 5 years old.
Wow.
So, but the love and the warmth and acceptance and the unlimitlessness of that experience and being able to look back and see my brother holding me and trying to stop the bleeding out of my head was just transformational. It's hard to even explain it because this 3D world we live in, you can't explain it. I can just say metaphors of what I experienced. And so anyway, I came back because my work was not done. And about a year ago, at a meditation retreat, a week-long meditation retreat I went to in Cancun, I finally found the reason why. And it was to help others, and
Did you have another vision?
I did, but it happened when I did the cohesive healing meditation where we were actually helping. There was 2,000 people in the room, which helped with the energy that we felt. Like imagine going to a football game at 80,000 people. You know how you feel that energy?
Sure.
You don't feel that when you're watching it on the TV, right? So just imagine that times 10 with trained professionals that know how, not professionals, but trained people that know how to meditate and elevate their bodies and their frequencies up to like love, or peace or surrendering. And basically, I got to a certain point where I went back to that accident and kind of relived it again. But when I came back, I realized that I'm here. My job wasn't done yet. And now I'm clear on what I was supposed to do. And that was one of the reasons I also started the Entrepreneurs Roundtable to help other people that are employees that are sick and tired of being sick and tired of being broke, or they're young entrepreneurs that don't want to go to college, or they're in college and don't like it and want to go start their own business because they have a great idea.
Right.
That's who I want to help.
That's
And I guide them and I give them a structure and I just support them. And that's what we do.
I love that.
Yep.
I think that's cool because if you can take no matter where we use this helping other people thing, it translates through all of our life, not just
We're all connected.
Yeah, I think so.
No
And
doubt.
the consciousness, the level of consciousness and the energy, there's some people that are vibrating or have a higher level of frequency than others, and they're able to maintain that level. And there's other ones that are barely vibrating higher than a head of lettuce. So, which if you ever study Dr. Hawkins, he has a scale of consciousness and they show, and they can measure this with I can't pronounce it, but
Is that the dude in the wheelchair?
no.
Oh, okay.
I always thought that too, but that's not him.
All right.
But that's Stephen Hawkins.
Oh, wow.
But anyway,
He was a doctor.
yeah,
Right?
he was. But we show, and I study people that have had severe near-death experiences and have been for years because I've been curious. I've been on a mission to find out what happened to me. And that and that's common for people that have had NDEs, and it's also almost caused people, and some people have gotten divorced from it because they're so focused on finding out, and the spouses are sick and tired of hearing about it, which is my wife.
Yeah.
So that's why I also created my group, because she's sick of hearing about entrepreneurship and business skills and personal growth development. So I build my own tribe of people, my soul tribe, have over 150 people in it now.
That's cool. Building a community of
Yeah, and I love it, and they want to hear about it. They've raised their hand and said, "Yes, I want more." Instead of me talking to somebody that doesn't want to hear about it.
How do you narrow it down to which 20 get to show up?
First come, first serve.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Invite only. So once the 20th person takes a seat, no one else can register. Yep.
I like it, Greg.
Yeah.
So it's fun, and I have a blast. I'm a little kid in a candy store. I'm having a blast. I love life, and I do live it the fullest I can. I mean, we were talking earlier about what to share, what not to share, and how much to share about, because the promises do come true. And that's what I shared the other day in a meeting was, when I first was getting sober, all I wanted was peace. I wanted the noise to stop.
Yeah.
That was all. And that's all I wanted. And I would have been happy with that. And then I got that. And then got my wife back. And I got this back and that back. And now that noise is starting to kind of come back, but it's much more manageable now. And
It changes a color.
it does. Yeah. And I'm still figuring out. I think I'm a novice or an infant in the game, not the game. It is a game, the being sober, sobriety. So I'm a novice and I'm just starting to learn this stuff, but I know that I never ever want to think I got it. That's for sure. And I was too smart for my own good. I learned to shut up and just listen and to do and stop thinking about it. And I got the sponsor. I did 90 and 90. I did everything that they told me because my way wasn't working. Now when I can remember after the 90 days was up, I'm like, I was scared to not keep going to a meeting every day. I'm like, well, how many meetings is enough? Is it one?
I would have loved to sponsor this big dude telling him what to do. That would have been my ego would have been so huge.
Yeah. So it was scary, but I go to 3 to 4 meetings a week. And even when I travel, I love when I travel. I go all over
That's cool, right?
Kentucky, and I go to Georgia and Alabama.
So those are some moonshine areas. You got some moonshiners in there. People talk about that white lightning and shit. Yeah.
I fit right in there,
Oh, yeah.
in a country boy. But but it's fun. And I just got back from Inverness, and I went to 3 meetings while I was there for 6 days. And got to meet some new friends. Or made some new friends, and they were sad to see me go. Actually, they were like, "You're leaving already?" I'm like, "I got to go back home, man. So I'll be back." But it's fun. I'm having fun, and my wife and I are going to Europe next month, and this is something we've been talking about doing for 20 years.
What part?
We're going to go to Paris, Greece, and then going to Rome, and then home. But
Rome is great.
I'm interested. I've never been out of the country.
Oh wow, you're in love. So the only problem with Greece is there's a lot of Greeks there. Other than that, it's great.
But these are the things that I worry about sharing because, we're in the room and some of the folks, living on the street, so that's why I don't really know what to share, what not to share, but I just try to be true to myself and, share what I do and hope I don't offend anybody, but you never know what is going to offend somebody and what's not going to offend somebody. Because, you could put us 3 in a room, go to a presentation, and you ask, what did you get out of that? Or what were your takeaways? And we'd each give something different,
Yeah, there's some people just aren't going to like the cut of your jib no matter what.
Yep.
And they're just not going to listen to you. And then there's other people that will follow you to the ends of the earth. And, we find our tribe, man. We find our people.
Yep.
What you got there?
Just a coin. I was one of the first 500 founding members to help John Maxwell start his John Maxwell team. And it says everything rises and falls on leadership. So I'm basically certified coach, speaker, trainer for his books and philosophies. But he was a pastor for years, and he bridged over to the business sector. And he basically has taken the stuff from the Bible and translated it into business terms and stuff like that, like the law of the lid or the law of magnetism or the law of, there's a book that we do, 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. And we go through, everyone buys a book and then we go through 7 chapters over a 7-week period. So we read a chapter and then we meet like this, some in person, some of them over the internet. And then we basically discuss the book and what we learned about it. Basically, it's a leadership class that I teach, but yeah, I started this back in 2011 and I am just now getting back to it in 2024, but I put it on the shelf back in 2015 to get back into real estate full time.
Do you incorporate that with your entrepreneur class? Yeah.
Yeah. So basically what the Entrepreneurs Roundtable is about is 3 things. We are all about personal growth and development, business skill development, and specialized real estate training. And the workshops I do there are free. And then those that want to go deeper and have me as their mentor or coach or more training, in-depth training, like 2-day trainings, 4-day trainings. And then I have a training facility where I take them where we have smart boards and computers and I'll teach them. Basically, I did a brain dump of everything that I've learned in my life that impacted me. And it's from my journals and everything I've learned. And I have a library of over probably, I don't want to guess, there's 6 figures worth of investments on tools and real estate and everything. Basically, I'm just sharing what I've learned. Everything I give people, I own. It's in my DNA, and I'm not a great sales guy. I'm more of, I've been quoted because I do speak to people on the platforms, but I've been quoted, I'm more of the steak and potato than the sizzle.
Yeah.
Which that's true. And I own that now. Before it used to make me mad, my pride, right? So I said, you know what? I'm going to own that because I am the steak and potato. I give you what you need, not what you want. People that sell from the platform give you what you want to hear.
Well, steak and potato is real.
Yeah.
Sizzle is perception.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
the steak, the sizzle.
but you need the sizzle to fill the seats. And that's where I struggle. So that's where I need someone like you to sizzle on the stage and fill the seats so I can fulfill them with what they need to go out and be a successful entrepreneur.
Did you? Nice. I did hear that.
It's like you, baby.
Yeah. No, it's certainly up my alley. I mean, I have started and ran on 20 businesses over the last 30 years. I'm still a consultant with the wealth management company and the insurtech company. And I always have lots going on. No, I'm very interested. In fact, I live right there. I live in East Lake Woodlands.
That's cool.
Right by the Village Inn.
Oh, sweet.
So I would definitely love to come by and
Well, I got a meeting on Thursday.
Well,
Just Thursday.
am I somewhat brokering? Am I brokering an introduction here, guys? Is this what's going on? Oh,
Sure.
The percentages are low.
I'll give you a bad award.
The percentages are low. I work on a very low percentage.
Yeah. Now, you guys, I'd love to have you come and check it out. I teach them the 4 aptitudes of leadership. So we went over strategic, directional, operational, and team builder leader, and the differences between them. And I gave presidents as examples of each one and the pros and cons. So I built up their egos and inflated their heads with all the things they're great at. And then I hit them with all the stuff that personality type or leadership type is weak on there.
Mm-hmm.
And then now tomorrow or Thursday, we're going to go through the value cards where we have 40 cards. And they're all different values. It could be humility, it could be money, it could be fun, it could be whatever it is, right? And so I hand a deck of cards to everybody.
Are they random?
Yep. So
Right.
basically you pick the top 12 that you identify with and you keep them, and then that becomes a 12-month plan, personal growth development plan, where you work on, like, say for example, faith was 12, and money was number 1. So I teach them to go after their strongest one first to get them a win for the first month. And then I have them go down to the 12th one, which is faith, which is their weakest one, to work on that the second month, and then vice versa, back and forth until they go through all of them. And
Is that to acquire balance?
balance. And the other thing too, that it helps is when I had my software company, I had 10 full-time employees, and me being a programmer, I tried to manage them all the same way. I tried to systematize my management style. And it didn't work because I had a 20-year-old and a 60-year-old, and the 20-year-old wanted fun and money and, this and that. And then the 60-year-old wanted security, benefits, and all those things that made him feel safe. So what happened was doing this exercise, I gave it to all 10 of them, and then I had them give me their 12 core beliefs or values. And then I used those to equip them to reach whatever goal they wanted within the company. And what a transformation as far as the output that I received from them, just by that simple little shift.
I bet.
Yep. And it's cool too. I did with my family too. It was really good. So now I know, like what my daughter, for example, Mackenzie, what motivates her. She's my office manager, and she also now is our property manager because my wife just passed the torch to her, which is nice. So, but her top 12 values are obviously, we went through them the other day to see if they changed over the years.
Yeah.
And she still likes to have fun and you know money, and then travel. Like mine back in 2008 were values, attitude, priorities, commitment, growth, relationships, finances, family. Number 8 was family, health, generosity, thinking, and faith was 12. So see how out of whack I was then. And my top 3 were values, growth, and priorities. My top 2 were values and growth, which is what I'm still doing. And what I've learned is that human beings, we have 6 needs, and the 2 that I was not fulfilling at the very end, that when my life was spiraling out of control, was growth and contribution. So I wasn't growing anymore, and I wasn't contributing anymore. I wasn't giving back. I was being selfish and just doing my own stuff.
A lot of people need to
Yeah.
realize that.
But it's been a fun, been tough and fun at the same time. But I know now, with me not drinking, my life is much more stable, consistent. You know, I kind of boring, but I would say boring. It's just different. It's like when we go out now,
Are you predictable, Action Jackson? A little
mm,
predictable?
more now than I was before, but I can't. Well, what's predictable is predictable before was I never wanted to come home when I was drinking because I was having too much fun. But now when we go to a party within an hour, hour and a half, when everyone else is starting to get wound up, I'm like, all right,
Time to go.
time to go.
Yep.
It's interesting though,
Irish goodbyes.
or some type of,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's just interesting how that has changed, and that has impacted, my relationship a little bit. Like an example right now that I'm working through is, what to do with my wife when we go to Europe, as far as some of the things we want to go do. And one would be to go to some vineyard or, go, she loves wine, right?
Yeah.
So, but she didn't want to go. And, just because she's like, feels it'd be awkward with me just sitting there watching her drink. But I'm like, I would get so much pleasure out of you being happy.
Yeah.
She don't believe me, but
That'll change.
I hope.
That
Yeah.
can change.
Yeah, we're working on it.
Yeah.
She's working on it too, and the biggest thing for me is just to remember she's got her own path, and I need to stay on my side of the street unless she asks for help, or asks for something, or guidance or whatever. But she's pretty well, she's strong-willed like me, a force to be reckoned with.
I can only imagine being married
Well,
for 30 years.
What do you think? How'd you pick you? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Well, I appreciate you guys, man. It's been fun. Um, I can't wait to get a few more years under my belt and help some other people, find a different path,
Yeah.
It's all in the name, Steve. It's all in the name. Now, what you got going on over there?
Well, listen, if you're having a tough time quitting, whatever it is you need to quit, you're not alone. There's apps and numbers and groups in your town, or you can call us if you want. Leave us a message, 727-239-8587. Hit us up on Facebook. Taking that first step into a room or a chat or a group with people trying to get better just like you will be the best day of your life. Stephen, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Do you have one last final thought you'd like to leave with the listeners?
I do. It's a quote that I'd like to share, and
Perfect.
yep,
That's a leadership.
it's the to be prayer, and it's, "Dear Lord, I'm not what I ought to be, and Lord, I'm not what I want to be, and Lord, I'm not what I should be, but thank you, Lord, I'm not what I used to be."
Oh, nice. Primo, what's your final point following that up, by the way?
The pressure is always on at the end of the show. You know,
You strive under pressure.
I love it. And I love this pressure because you know what, dude? I think it's all about
Makes diamonds.
action, man. It's always been about action.
Right.
Yeah.
This whole thing that we do, we get up every morning, we say, what am I going to do with my life? I love, the Twisted Sister video. What are you going to do with your life? And the kid goes, I want to rock, and he blows him out. Well, I want to do that sober. You know what I mean? I want to rock. I want to go out. I want to travel the world. I want to have great loves. I want to have all these things. And you know what? We deserve it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? If we're going to put the effort into trying to be a better person, stop hurting other people, all those things, that leadership, all the people you're guiding, that's just it's a kinetic energy that's going to be transformed, and who knows, the garden, that legacy, that garden, whatever we're growing, is just part of the deal.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm impressed. And I love to be around that energy, man. I do.
Me too.
Yeah. Well, thanks for listening to Sober Shenanigans, real talk and real recovery. Remember, worry, anxiety, and fear, it's all up in here. Give yourself a break. You're enough, and you're doing great. I'm Stoff, and he's Primo, and remember, no drinks today.